We've been misinformed about the root cause of PCOS. In this video, I'm going to be delving into the true root cause of PCOS, so you'll find out the truth about PCOS and what's causing the PCOS symptoms, and once you know the root cause, you will know how to reverse your PCOS, which can all be done naturally. Hi, my name is Despina Pavlou and I'm the founder of PCOS Oracle, where I talk about all things PCOS and how to reverse it naturally. So if that's what you're looking for, then consider subscribing and turn on that notification bell to be notified when I upload a new video. PCOS is a metabolic and endocrine condition. And as you may know, to be diagnosed with PCOS, you have to show 2 out of the 3 from the Rotterdam criteria. Number 1 is high androgens. Number 2, an irregular menstrual cycle. Number 3, polycystic ovaries. When you're diagnosed with PCOS, you commonly focus on those high androgens, those high male hormones. And as a result, we end up focusing on finding ways to specifically lower these high male hormones. But, we never question or we're never told what's driving these higher male hormones. Like, what's the true cause, like what's causing them to be elevated? Because the higher male hormones, the regular menstrual cycle, the polycystic ovaries, as I just mentioned, they're all signs, they're symptoms of PCOS. Remember, PCOS is a syndrome. A syndrome is defined as a group of symptoms which consistently occur together, or a condition characterized by a set of associated symptoms. Now, you may have come across the different types of PCOS, and that does give an indication for what might be driving the PCOS symptoms. I don't like to focus on these types, but what you can see with all the different types is that they're pretty much driven by the same root cause, and that root cause is stress. Now, this shouldn't really come as a surprise to you, seeing as we know that all chronic diseases are pretty much driven and caused by chronic stress. And again, I know a lot of people would say, well, I'm not stressed, but stress isn't just, the studying for an exam or trying to complete a deadline for work or being stuck in traffic or just, our daily kind of stresses that we associate with being stressed. Stress includes environmental stressors, poor diet, over-exercising. There's a lot of stresses that we commonly don't think about that are causing us internal stress. Okay, so now we know that PCOS is driven by chronic stress. But how does that link to all of the symptoms associated with PCOS, from the hirsutism, the acne, the weight gain, the irregular periods, infertility? Well, it's estrogen. Estrogen rises in relation to cortisol. This is the aspect that so many women are not informed about. I was not informed that estrogen was the driver of all of the symptoms. I shouldn't be focusing on how to lower male hormones. My focus should be on how do I lower estrogen, which will in turn help me lower the high male hormones like testosterone. So as I mentioned, PCOS is essentially driven by stress. Estrogen rises in relation to cortisol. So women with PCOS are in that pituitary adrenal axis kind of stressed out metabolic state. You can say that there are 2 types of metabolic states in which your thyroid is healthy, is running optimally, and then the state of hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, where we are in that stress state where our adrenals are pumping out stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and our thyroid gets impacted, it's inhibited, it's suppressed due to stress. So we're in that constant chronic stress where our adrenals are just overactive and just pumping out stress hormones to a point where thyroid is not working and estrogen keeps on rising. Let me start by saying that estrogen isn't a bad hormone. It is needed in the body. Estrogen is needed for the menstrual cycle and fertility. It thickens the endometrium and it stimulates the growth of ovarian follicles. But the problem is when estrogen accumulates in the body. When there's not enough progesterone to counteract estrogen accumulates in the body and it contributes to various issues in the body, various dysfunctions in the body. Now, I have previously delved into estrogen dominance, the causes, risk factors, and signs and symptoms in my estrogen and PCOS video, which you can click the card here to watch. Go ahead and click over to that video once you finish watching this one for some more information and some 6 simple tips on how to lower estrogen and beat estrogen dominant symptoms. Researchers like Hansaley and Georgie have found that estrogen imitates the shock response which increases cortisol. Dr. AP explains that estrogen activates the adrenal stress reaction by the way of the hypothalamus and pituitary by direct actions on the adrenal glands. Dr. AP says that estrogen activates the production of cortisol and damages the normal feedback control, causing both cortisol and ACTH to be elevated. So when the body is stressed, it will go to the liver for glycogen, natural stored glucose. But once glycogen stores are depleted, it's a signal to the body that there's continued stress. Now the hope is that the stored glycogen was enough for you to overcome the stress that occurred. So if the body still feels in that state of stress, the glycogen is depleted, we've got nothing left over, so the body signals to the hypothalamus to release corticotropin releasing hormone, CRH, and this stimulates to the anterior pituitary to release adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, and then ACTH then acts on its target organ, the adrenal cortex. Cortisol, the stress hormones, are released from the adrenals. Cortisol breaks down muscle and connective tissue to get free amino acids for the process of gluconeogenesis, which is the process of manufacturing glucose through the use of protein. And then the liver will use those amino acids to create glucose. The glucose is then released into the bloodstream, and the mitochondria, which acts like a furnace, converts the glucose into ATP, which is a molecule that stores energy in the form that can be used to drive many processes in the body. Adrenaline, on the other hand, increases lipolysis, which is the release of free fatty acids from fat stores. As the Randle cycle draws attention to, there's a significant reduction in muscle uptake and utilization of glucose when fatty acid oxidation is occurring. So when the body is in a stress state, and adrenaline is increasing lipolysis and there's a lot of free fatty acids in the blood, the body is utilizing these fatty acids. So when the body is utilizing fatty acids, glucose levels begin to rise, leading to hyperglycemia, because the muscles cannot uptake and utilize that glucose while the breakdown of fat is occurring in this fat in the bloodstream. But then also hyperinsulinemia will also develop, because the body will be releasing insulin to help dispose of the glucose that's in the bloodstream. So the shutting down of glucose metabolism, using fat to create energy, is leading to insulin resistance. So the burning of fatty acids has caused insulin resistance. The body is no longer able to metabolize glucose. So it's often the lack of flexibility, metabolic flexibility, the decreased oxidation of carbohydrates, and the constant burning of fats that damage the energy producing cells. So when the body switches from the healthy thyroid function to the pituitary adrenal type of metabolism, that's when the characteristics associated with PCOS arise. So here's the thing, when the thyroid is healthy, pregnenolone and progesterone are made to inhibit the stress systems. So it inhibits the release of ACTH. But if the thyroid isn't healthy or functioning properly, this stops the creation of pregnenolone and progesterone. And as a result, the production of ACTH continues to rise. So the system it's now in, that pituitary adrenal state of stress, permits it, because there's no mechanism in place like pregnenolone, progesterone, or just a healthy thyroid, vitamin A, to inhibit the stress response, to inhibit ACTH. So back to estrogen and PCOS. Dr. OP, he explains that estrogen irritates the adrenals, causing them to pump out DHEA. And it said that the adrenals release androgenic steroids as a way to balance estrogen in a similar way that progesterone does. Dr. AP says The inability of ovaries to make progesterone without thyroid causes the adrenals to be overstimulated, and they are the source of increased DHEA and other androgens and estrogen. So women with PCOS are in a state of high estrogen, low thyroid, and overactive adrenals. If we're constantly in a state of stress, we're not going to be producing progesterone because we need a healthy functioning thyroid for that. You see, you need adequate amounts of thyroid hormone to make progesterone. And progesterone is prothyroid, while estrogen is antithyroid. So you have to take your body out of that stress state, out of that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis state, support the thyroid, and in turn helping to lower estrogen, which will in turn help reverse the symptoms of PCOS. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope you found some value. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section down below. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it, and share the video and subscribe for plenty more videos. I shall catch you in the next one.